When you think about an American landscape, you think about clouds. We've got clouds of something. It's probably not, natural vapor. You think of, beautiful hills. Well, there are hills here, but is that snow or is that some sort of chemical used in the manufacturing plant process? You think about a lake or water or streams. Yes, there's water here, but it obviously doesn't look like it's something you're going to go drink or swim in. I'm Jean Savitsky. I am the Director of Real Estate and Sustainability at the Museum of Modern Art, and I'm speaking about Charles Sheeler's American Landscape. American Landscape was based on photos that Charles Sheeler had taken of Ford's River Rouge plant in Michigan. So in college, my focus was industrial management, and I had a very strong interest in manufacturing plant design. I just find that fascinating. You have to do things in a sequential order. It was about process and how do you do things so they're the most efficient and the most productive. It's just such a combination of minuscule things that ends up creating a big product. So when I look at it from the climate lens, it's very similar, where small little things that we do that we don't think make a difference make a difference. You take that little piece and then you extrapolate that over how many people and how many times, and all of a sudden there starts to be an impact. I joined the museum to build the expansion that was completed in 2019. And then after that, my main focus is really making the museum as sustainable as possible. How we use our energy, how we use our materials. What do we do with the materials when we're done using them? How do we move art around? How do we function as a business day to day? And this piece really resonated with me because the painting was painted in 1930 when there was a different way of thinking at the time. And I'm looking at this painting now through the lens of what have these manufacturing facilities done to our environment? Why do I now need to reduce our emissions here at the museum by 50% or 30%? Because this type of building and this type of manufacturing and this type of uncontrolled pollution was allowed to happen over year after year after year. My mother, who is 98 and grew up in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, looked at this painting, and I asked her for her opinion of it because she would have seen it as a girl in the 1930s. And her opinion of it was that this manufacturing and what this represents was progress and positive and allowed them to have things that they never had before. I think that just talks about the relevance of a museum and how artworks change over time, not the physical artwork, but the audience that's looking at the artwork. You're bringing yourself to the artwork and how we're living now. You're looking at it differently than perhaps the artist intended. And that's what keeps art relevant. And now when I look at it through the lens of 2023, I look at it very differently because I'm looking at what the byproduct of this factory and this industrial process and this uncontrolled growth does that we now have to address at this time because it's not sustainable. We need to make changes.